Okay, so what I've decided to do is segment this into just kind of a series of Q&As because for one, I got asked quite a few questions and a lot of them were about different topics, so which is great, by the way, because that's kind of the point here, to learn about a lot of different things that I don't normally talk about on the channel. But the first thing I want to cover in part one of this Q&A series, if you will, is how the channel started and how I got it to grow the way that I got it to grow. Because when I first started the channel, I don't know if you've ever gone back in time, back to the very first videos that I ever produced on the channel, and actually I had some earlier than that ended up deleting not long after I made the transition into PC gaming just because they were so awful. And I know, and looking back, I should have kept those because it's a part of the history of the channel. I don't want to say I was ashamed of them, but compared to the quality of content that we have now, it was night and day. And I didn't want to give people the perception that our channel produced content that was that shabby, I guess. So the earliest videos that you'll find on the channel have to do with astronomy, physics, geology, just all kinds of stuff that intrigued me personally. And that's what kind of ties into the first question that I'm going to answer here from @WraithFighter on Twitter. I'm going to post all the questions and Twitter handles right here. You can check them out. So @WraithFighter asks, what motivated you to start the YouTube channel? And that ties back into what I was just talking about with the early science videos. That kind of stuff really did and still does intrigue me. I loved learning about that content. Some of it was stuff that I had learned in school. That's another question I'm going to answer very soon, by the way, what my major is and the kinds of classes I've taken. But that stuff was just interesting to me. A lot of the stuff that I posted in the beginning when the channel was first created had to do with space and the planets and physics and gravity and all that cool stuff because that was what I grew up studying, believe it or not. When I was in elementary school, by the time I had reached the 3rd grade, I'd read every single astronomy library book there was in my elementary school. In fact, by the 5th grade, I was reading physics books. I actually had those in my school, in my elementary school. I didn't understand 3/4 of what I was reading, but by the time I got into middle school and even in high school, a lot of the stuff that I had just kind of absorbed like a sponge but didn't still understand at that point, eventually did make sense when I took classes that had to do with those topics in middle school and high school. So I was just super intrigued and just in awe of the universe when I was really, really young. And that kind of curiosity is what fueled my interest in other scientific subjects. I've always been a fan of electronics. I never understood how to actually, craft circuit boards and do all that fancy stuff. But that kind of led to the PC part of the channel later on. I was pretty big on consoles for a while, and then I made the transition only about 7 or 8 months ago to PC. I built my first PC. That's actually another question I was going to answer on here. Sorry, this is all out of order. Like I said, I'm trying to segment these, if you will. So @AlmightyRuin asks, what were the specs of your first PC, self or pre-built? And that first PC that I had ever built was an Intel i3 4150. So we're talking Haswell i3 here. I had an MSI Z97 gaming motherboard, a 750 Ti from EVGA. I had 8 gigabytes and 2 4 gig variants of Crucial Ballistics DDR3 at 1600 megahertz. And then I believe I had taken an old power supply out of an old server computer that I had lying around at the house. So it was like an 800 watt, but it was an old bulky gray one. It wasn't fancy or anything, and it was overkill, especially for what I had at the time. And then I just had an old hard drive that I had from another build, of course. That was something that we had just purchased pre-built, but I took the hard drive out of that and used that as my storage device. So all in all, I think that build costs something like $500, $450, and it was decent. I mean, moving from consoles to PCs, I expected gaming to just be as fluid. I wasn't really all that up to date with powerful graphics cards and what was worth the money and what really wasn't. And even back then, I mean, only 7 months ago really, but seems like it was a lot longer than that. The 750 Ti is not something that you just want to throw into a rig that you expect to game on every day and expect good results from. It's kind of like the bare minimum, I would say, and more recommended for games like Dota, maybe some light World of Warcraft and stuff like that, but not the games that I was interested in playing, like Grand Theft Auto 5, and City Skylines came out soon after. That was a great game. Actually, it may have been out at the time already. I don't know. I'm not following that stuff. But a lot of those games were more GPU intensive than I had originally presumed. and the 750 Ti wasn't cutting it. So you can see in this picture right here, I had an MSI R7 370 from AMD. That was my first graphics card upgrade, and that made everything so much better. It's not twice as powerful as the 750 Ti, but it was a night and day difference in terms of what I could turn up, how I was playing the game. It just seemed so much more fluid, and even at the time, I wasn't even focused on frame rates. I didn't even know what that was. That kind of ties into the third question I want to answer. So these are all I love these because these all kind of work together. Mr. Alfredo Beltran at ASAP Alfredo 21. He asks, when did you start building PCs? When did you start getting into PC tech, building them, etc.? At a young age or recently? Great channel, man. Appreciate it, Alfredo. So to answer your question, that kind of ties into why the channel changed from a strictly science channel to a technology PC gaming channel. Because when I started the channel, the intent was not to evolve into a PC channel. I wasn't even into that at the time. I built a PC so that I could do my edits more, efficiently. So when I was doing my science videos, I was editing them on an old cheap laptop, and it wasn't cutting it. I knew it wasn't cutting it, so I said, I'm gonna build a decent PC. That'll be my editing rig. And then I realized, I was like, you know what? Building a PC is actually pretty fun. And so I ended up selling that rig, and I built my second PC with the FX 6300 up there. That was my second CPU I ever owned. And I built that on the Asus 970 M5A97 motherboard. I'm surprised I even remember that. And then same 8 gigabytes of RAM. I bought a solid state drive this time around. And then I think I bought an R9380. That's what I had. And actually that build is on the channel. You can click it. Which side's it going to be on? I think it's on this side. Yeah, you can click it right here. I think it may be. It's backwards. It's like reflective. I'm looking at myself in the camera. I don't know which way it's going to be. But you can click the card, and that card will take you to my second ever PC build. And while there aren't as many views on that video as there are on some of the more recent videos on the channel, that video was what made me realize that there was a huge demand for PC gaming and just technology content on YouTube. And I said, well, if I'm going to make this channel a success, if I want to see how far I can really push the envelope and make this channel grow, I needed to make content that people want to see, because people at the time weren't really interested in my science stuff. I know I wasn't being found on YouTube very easily, just because my stuff was so specific, like I was explaining movies, and I was talking about tectonic plate boundaries and stuff. Like, people don't just go onto YouTube and search for that stuff. They might for class, but it's not something they're just going to want to be interested in most of the time, especially when compared to something like PC gaming. So I basically made the transition into PC building and technology as a result of the substantial growth the channel experienced after that first video. I realized that a lot of people wanted to see PCs being built. They wanted all the tech porn. They wanted to see what worked well with what didn't work well with what. And I said, it's basically like exercising the scientific method with computers. And on top of that, I'm an engineering major, so that it works out even better. By the way, that someone else asked that question. They asked what my major was. I'm trying to do this all in one shoot, so I don't have to edit very much, because I want to get these out quickly so that I can answer as many questions as possible. Okay, I can't find it, but I know it's been asked several times in some of the videos I've uploaded, and I haven't answered those questions because they've all been the same. What is your specialty in engineering? I haven't answered them because I wanted to save them for this video. So while my major field of study is engineering, my, concentration is petroleum, which means that I deal with oil. So we basically extract oil from the ground, is a simple way of putting it. There's a lot more that goes into that, obviously. So I take classes like transport phenomena, phase behavior, thermodynamics, statics mechanics, basically a mechanical engineering degree to an extent. And then we hit a point in which we branch away from them. I'd say mechanical engineers encompass a wider array of careers, whereas ours is very concentrated. So when I graduate, I expect, as if, unless I start making huge sums of money on YouTube, which has yet to happen, I expect that I'll be working on an oil platform somewhere offshore, or maybe in an oil rig onshore. It just depends on who ends up hiring me. But that is what I will be doing, I expect, next year after I graduate. And that's my actual degree that I'm working for is a petroleum engineering degree. I'm also minoring in geology and pre-MBA. So I want to get my pre-MBA my MBA, not my pre-MBA. I want to get my MBA very soon, so the pre-MBA takes away those prereqs that I would normally have to take if I'm not a business major, which I'm not. So that's something else I hope to have under my belt. I hope to have that eventually as well, probably right after I graduate if I can't find a job when I get out, because oil right now it's a little sketchy. So I want to end this video with the one more question, and I love this question because it's pretty much open-ended. So at the Trixie, she asks, what is your main goal concerning YouTube? And that, my friends, is to learn. And that's why at the end of every video I say thanks for learning with this, because 99% of the time I'm the one filming, I'm always the one in the shot, I'm always the one editing, I'm always the one typing the scripts, and I'm always the one researching. But I actually like that because it gets me involved too. I have to learn these things in order to be able to convey them in a way that's understandable for all of you, because that's why you subscribe to this channel. You subscribe to learn, and I appreciate that. You can't put a price tag on someone's drive and motivation to learn. And that's what I hope that this channel continues to do, is accelerate those curiosities you have for topics in the tech industry, in PC gaming industry, and then hopefully eventually we'll make a steady transition into just science again in general. Things that are interesting, that many people don't talk about or necessarily know about, that I'll make a personal goal of mine to learn about as best I can, to be able to then share with all of you, because knowledge is priceless. Again, you can't put a price tag on these things. It's something that you either have or you don't have. And for those of you who have it, thank you for supporting this channel. I hope you stick by me. I hope that this channel continues to grow, because I really do love what I do. I mean, I'm a full-time college student. This isn't something that I do to make money off of. I'm not making a lot of money off of it. When I graduate, I expect that I'll be working in the field as a petroleum engineer. I don't expect I'll be doing YouTube full-time unless something miraculous happens between now and then, next year. So I want to thank each and every one of you again for your support, for watching this video as far into it as you have, and for sticking by me, because this channel would not be where it is today without all of you. We've grown, in 7 months, we've grown from 1 subscriber, my own other YouTube account that I subscribed to this one for just to make myself feel special, to 80,000 nearly subscribers as of July 24th. That blows me away, and it's because of all of you and all of your interest to learn. Again, priceless. This is Science Studio, folks. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for learning with us.